Good morning to one and all. We welcome all the participants for today's eConnect, an interaction initiative with entrepreneur. Energy demand in India will increase more than in any other nation over the next 20 years. As India recovers from the COVID-19 induced slump, it is re-entering a dynamic period in its energy development, said the India Energy Outlook 2021 report. Over the coming years, millions of Indian households are set to buy new appliances, air conditioning units, and vehicles, the report said. To meet the growth in electricity demand over the next 20 years, India will need to add a power system the size of the European Union to what it has now. India's ability to ensure affordable, clean, and reliable energy for its growing population will be vital for the future development of its economy. The combination of a growing and industrializing economy and an expanding and increasingly urban population will drive energy use higher. To know more about this, we have with us today Mr. Satyanarayanan Asokan, founder and Ngaz Energy, Goa. We welcome you, sir. I also welcome a beloved director, Dr. A.G.V. Narayanan, Chief Executive, Captain Sendil Kumar, faculty members, students of DJME, and participants from other institutions and industry. Now, I request my friend Anu Soundarya to introduce the speaker.
Good morning, everyone. Mr. Satyanarayanan Asokan is the founder of Ngaz Energy Storage and Logistics. He did his undergraduate in BTech in Chemical Engineering from Anna University and PGDM in Management from Loyola Institute of Business Administration. He started his career in Reliance Industries Limited as graduate engineer trainee in the year 1998. He then joined Total in 2001 as area manager, LPG marketing. He worked in Nagarjuna Oil Corporation Limited from 2004 to 2010 and then joined Indian Oil Tanking as general manager and become the CEO and board member of Zori Indian Oil Tanking in 2016. He has exposure in the field of liquid logistics, storage and terminals, in LPG, import and marketing, and in petroleum refinery projects. Once again, we welcome you, sir. Now I request you to take over the session.
Yeah, thank you so much, Professor Narayanan, Captain Senthil, Mr. Sriraman, and others. I am, in fact, more than happy to be here with you all, actually. And I'm extremely delighted to have this opportunity to interact with the students. In fact, there is a vested interest for me in that actually I get to actually meet the students, because number one, in our industry it's very rare for us to interact with the students and then take their viewpoints in discuss with them about the emerging issues that they see, because we completely tend to live in a different world where it is all oil, gas, hydrogen, biogas, etc. So I'm delighted about this opportunity to talk to you all today, and I would like this to be more interactive, so I will keep my presentation very brief, and then I would love to actually address any queries or questions, not necessarily connected to the subject topic, or even otherwise about the career, about the prospects. So I'm happy to share my learnings, and the knowledge that we have gained over a period of time with you all. So that's the objective. Yeah. Thank you once again. So shall I move to the presentation?
Yeah, please.
Yes, sir. You have the options, so you can share the screen.
Yeah. Just trying to share the screen just a moment. Okay, now you're able to see?
Perfect, sir.
Yeah. Yes. So when I was actually chatting with Professor Narayanan as to what is the topic that you want me to talk about, so he suggested that I speak about the industry that I come from, that is oil and energy industry. So, and also this being an e-connect, so he suggested that what is that kind of connection that you can bring about with the entrepreneurship. So that's the basis, and with that thought, so I prepared about prepared the presentation about the topic, and then let me just jump into this. So I would like to cover this with this sections. First setting the context, then we talk about the energy in a global perspective, then coming down to Indian scenario, so what it is there in India, and what is this transition all about, and what are the opportunities this transition throws to us, the entrepreneurs, and the business community in India. And finally, little bit of learnings from my journey so far. So this is what I intend to cover today. So let me move to the context setting. So this is going to be full of picture story, because picture speaks more words than what we can actually. So you see that the this we have been hearing for quite some time, that the glaciers are melting, and there is a existential threat to several Arctic and Antarctic uh, flora and fauna. So this has been actually, this trend has been accelerating in the recent years, and so what we are seeing, the effect is not only the melting of glaciers, but also the climate technologies, and the researchers, they indicate, or they tend to conclude, that the flash floods and the extremely intense rainfall that happen in the urban areas, in the cities, are also a resultant of such rapid climate change. So which we have ourselves experienced one or couple of such extreme climate events in the recent past. And not only that, so the river beds and lakes are drying up, which is again affecting the livelihood of several animals and other beings which are thriving on those, and of course ultimately affecting the human beings also, because we are all interconnected, and so it is all ecologically, we are all highly interdependent and interconnected. So of course, so as a the economic growth needs to happen, so there is an increasing automobile population, there is an increasing industrial growth to cater to the growing needs of the human population. So what we face is a dual challenge. So what we want is a highly modern modern life, uh, good connectivity, good transportation infrastructure, so high mobility, and at the same time, what we lose in that bargain is the beauty of the nature, or even we create a threat for our future generations. So this is a dichotomous situation, where we aspire for all those good things about the life, but at the same time that is coming at the cost of the environment, and uh, the climate in general. So you will know Harari, the famous author of the book the recent book, the 21 Lessons for 21st Century. So he mentions that the humanity faces 3 threats in this century. Of course, the 2 are known already: the nuclear war and technological disruption, which continue to exist. So the third one is the ecological collapse. So unless the humanity and makes a substantial change in the the direction that we move in, so there is a significant threat to our ecology, and ultimately that is going to affect all of us as a whole. But in the middle of difficulty, Albert Einstein says that lies the opportunity. So the world actually, uh, uh, I think it's for good. Actually, it is moving in the right direction now. So let's see what is happening actually. So what the industry, what the governments are doing about this, because this imminent threat of climate change is well perceived and well understood, and I think there are important actions that are being taken, which are in the right direction. So let's move to the next section, which is about what is energy, and in a global perspective, and so what is happening uh, as a whole in the world about the energy demand and energy supply, and so what are the important aspects of it, and ultimately what is the impact on the climate because of the energy demand. So there has been, of course, so we continue to talk a lot about the world economy, not being in good shape, etc. So of course the world economy has been going ups and downs, so triggered by several factors, and it has been kind of cyclical, I would say, in the recent few decades. So but nevertheless, so what is going to happen in 20, 30 years down the line? So the most of the projections tend to converge to the fact that the GDP is going to the global GDP is going to continue to grow, and it is going to actually double between now and 2040. So, and where is this growth? Most of the growth going to come from? So it's obviously it is from the growing Asia, or I would say what we call in the energy industry non-OECD countries. So which includes primarily countries like China, India, and the rest of the Asian, some of the Southeast Asian countries, and rest of Asia. So this is where the most of the growth in the coming decades is going to come from, and this is coupled with the changing demographics, so which is going to be more of a young and consuming population. So the population is growing, so accordingly the GDP is growing, and therefore, so what happens? So the economic growth cannot come without the energy being available or energy being consumed. So there is a overall over 2% per annum growth in the global primary energy requirement, and BP, which is UK based, one of the largest energy companies in the world. So they have actually come up with the 3 scenarios for the demand growth for primary energy in the world. So the one is the business as usual scenario, when there is everything continues more or less like the way that we are today. And second is a net zero scenario, where the companies or the governments put together a policy where there is a clear cut timeline to become net carbon zero. That's the second scenario. And third scenario is the rapid scenario, where there is a proactive government policy move coupled with a complete change in the societal behavior. Thereby, there is a lot of awareness about the need to move to net carbon zero. So therefore, in that scenario, there is a rapid growth in the or a rapid change in the behavior. Thereby, the net zero situation is achieved even faster. So these are the three scenarios that BP has devised. In all these scenarios, so what is happening is that the India and China are going to be the significant contributors again for the demand growth, energy demand growth. So so is Asia. So, but in a business, what we are going to see in the next 3 decades is going to be far less than what we have seen as a world in the last 2 decades. You can see that the global primary energy demand growth has been on an average over 2% in the last 2 decades, whereas it is going to be, it's about 1% in the business as usual scenario and about 0.5% in net zero and around the same in the rapid scenario also. So there is demand growth for energy for sure, but it is likely to change with the different scenarios. So that all depends upon the government's policy implementation and also the societal behavior by and large. So there is a with the demand change, so the supply sources are already changing. So why the supply sources are already changing? Because number one, the exploration production of oil for the last over 2 decades have become more expensive, and there is a increasing convergence that oil will peak very soon, maybe in a decade or a decade and a half, whereas there is an abundance of gas in the world, and so gas production has substantially improved in the last one and a half decades. So therefore, already even before the urgency of the climate change and its impact, so there has been fundamental shift in the oil production capability of the world and cost of oil production and the availability of natural gas and its cost of production. So this has already started impacting the supply. So there has been the oil production has been kind of plateaued for quite some time, and the world has been shifting towards the natural gas, which is more available, I mean relatively available in abundance. So this change has already started happening, and with the climate change impact and the Paris Agreement, so what we see is that there has been increasing preference towards renewable energy, which is your solar, your wind, your other new energy sources such as the hydro or biogas, etc. So coal has really lost its kind of attraction as the major fuel, but coal still continues to be driving the power generation in the world. But nevertheless, so the electricity demand is not expected to grow significantly in the coming decades. So therefore, the coal will remain largely where it is today. But what is likely to increase in terms of the share is the natural gas and the renewables, which are seeing good traction. So you can see in the graph. So pardon, because I have put in a few graphs because I thought that will get registered better than the text. So So you will see that in all the scenarios that I spoke about, there has been renewables have been growing and then hydrocarbons have been coming down. When I say hydrocarbons, it is primarily it is oil which is coming down, whereas natural gas continues to rule roost in most of the scenarios. So what is the likely impact on emissions? Yes, in the ideal scenario is the net zero scenario where there is the lowest emissions starting from a very high point. So in 3 decades, we will be in the best possible where I believe that scenario talks about where we restrict the global warming to less than 1.5 degrees from what it is today. Whereas in a business as usual scenario, we won't be able to restrict the increase in global temperature within the 2 degrees, and in rapid scenario it is somewhere in between. So what is happening with the governments and the major oil companies which have transformed themselves into major energy companies actually today? So they would all like to be called energy companies than the oil companies which they used to be called 2 decades ago or 3 decades ago. So Shell wants to achieve net carbon zero by 2050. So is ExxonMobil, and our Indian multinational Reliance aims to become net carbon zero by 2035, which is very, very ambitious. But I think they are well on their way to make this happen. So most of the companies and governments they all completely aligned to make the world net carbon zero. I think so. That's one very, very important development. So that has been gaining importance, and increasingly there are policy moves which support this ambition, and things are happening very fast, changing very fast on the ground. So that's what we see as an oil and energy executive who has been witnessing this sector for last 2 decades. I see a very, very rapid change in the last few years. So I will share some of those aspects in the coming slides. So let's come to India. So we have seen the global scenario, what is happening on the energy side, on the demand side, on the supply side, and correspond on the emission side, on the regulation side. So now what's happening in India? Of course, so India is one of the fastest growing economies. So it requires a lot of energy to keep moving and keep growing and keep meeting the aspirations of the growing young population. So far it has been predominantly, if you look at the history of the last 2 decades, so the growth has been supported by substantially by the coal, because coal goes into the electricity generation. Then you have oil, which is a major fuel source for the transportation fuels. Then you have so far very little natural gas, and traditional biomass, which has been that has been declining, unfortunately. And interestingly, the renewables have been picking some momentum in the recent years. So this is where we are as on date. But we all know that the coal is the most polluting, followed by oil. And then when you move upwards, you have less sulfur, less pollutants, and when you burn them, you generate less carbon also. When you move up the ladder in the of this energy sources. But interestingly, India is not polluting the world enough. So I wouldn't say, I mean, that as a positive factor, and India should continue to burn high carbon or high polluting fuels. But nevertheless, these are the facts actually. So while the GDP is also roughly 40% of the global average, energy demand per capita is also less than 40% of the global average. Oil demand is again less than 30%, and your car ownership is far lower than the world average. And except for the coal, where we are almost 60% of the world average, because I think India is having one of the biggest coal reserves in the world. So naturally, so when for the electricity requirements, India has leaned very heavily on coal, and which I think it will continue to do so for the electricity generation, while it for the other users, I think there will be an increasing shift towards the renewables and less polluting fuels. And in terms of finally carbon emission, also we are one of the lowest in the world, or much less than the world average. But nevertheless, India has set very ambitious program to move to net carbon zero in next 3 decades. So that sets the basis for all the policy moves that that the government has been making, uh, in spite of much lower than the world average carbon emissions from India. And one another important factor which plays into the policy changes is the import dependence. The most of the polluting fuels that we have in India, that is a significant import dependence. Except for coal, coal is not too much of import dependence, because there are enough reserves for coal in India, but the coal mining is not picked up. So therefore, we are resorting to some coal imports, which I think in the future will come down with the promotion of privatization of coal mines. So that import scenario is likely to change. Whereas oil and gas, the import dependency is only growing because the local production has been stagnant for many years. So, and there is not much of hope for significant jump in local production. So the import dependence is only going to rise with the increase in consumption. So therefore, so it is not only for the climate change that the cleaner, greener fuels are to be promoted, but also from the import dependence point of view. So that this policy is being promoted. So what has been happening in India in last 1 decade, especially, is that so there is a clear shift to cleaner fuels, starting with cooking gas. So cooking gas, what we saw more than a decade back was about 50-60 percent penetration of households in India, which in the last 1 decade has actually officially moved to about 95% penetration. But in terms of the consumption or usage, as we have seen in the other slide, that the per capita consumption is still very low of the clean cooking gas, which is the LPG here. So there is a good room for growth here. So, but of course, this is again in this fuel, there is already 50% import dependence. India is not producing enough LPG that it actually requires. So already 50% is imported, and going forward, the import dependence will go up. So it is likely to go up to 80% by 2030, and even beyond that by 2040 and 50. But it is here to stay. It is because this has we have seen this has made a socio-economic changes for large cross-section of our society. And in this, of course, there have been a lot of business opportunities for entrepreneurs and business houses in terms of setting up import facilities for LPG, bottling plants for LPG, and a lot of almost thousands of distributors have been commissioned for distributing this LPG into the increasingly rural areas. So this has already resulted in huge business opportunity, and we as Ngaz Energy are also looking at some of the emerging opportunities in this sector to set up whether it is LPG import facility or a connected bottling plant or such infrastructure, pipeline infrastructure in this segment. So the opportunities for entrepreneurs continue in this segment as well, and it's one of the, we have seen new business houses taking prominence with such opportunities. So this is really one of the promising areas. Second is the increasing solar power generation. So this has been really this is one area which has really picked up in last 1 decade, and interestingly, the cost of power generated from solar has come down from somewhere around 7-8 rupees per unit to now little over 1.5 rupees. So that's the kind of trend. So this has happened because of the rapid change in the improvement in the technology, improvement in the economies of scale, and widespread usage. So all this has contributed to drastic reduction in the solar power generation price. So now solar claims to be as competitive as the coal is in terms of the electricity generation cost. So this is one very, very important development, and India makes a very, very rapid march towards 100 gigawatt of solar power generation, and this has already resulted in several hundreds of entrepreneurship opportunities. I have seen a lot of new companies which have come into existence on the solar business, whether it is rooftop solar or whether it's industrial solar development or an independent solar power producer. So there are immense opportunities that have emerged in the recent years. So, and finally, the solar PV manufacturing is also picked up in India, and we are now at 30 gigawatts, from 30 gigawatts to 100 gigawatts. I think that's a substantial, more than 3 times increase. So this is going to only throw up more and more opportunities for the entrepreneurs and business community. The next one is the increasing natural gas share in the energy basket from 6% to 15% in next 10 years actually. So what we have seen in the last 5 years is that from 5-6 districts or 10 districts in India, the city gas, CGD stands for city gas distribution. So this has now expanded to more than 400 districts, and more districts are going to be covered in the next licensing rounds. So what we see is a very, very, very fast spread out of the natural gas market in India. And of course, there have been many, here again, there is an import dependence. India is not producing enough of gas that it requires. So there have been investments in LNG import facilities. There have been investments in the natural gas pipeline grid. And now what we are seeing on the ground is that we find more CNG stations. In Tamil Nadu, it's very, very, it's very, very few CNG stations are there already. But I think in 3 or 4 years' time, you will find lots of CNG stations. and of course, and next followed by LNG stations directly. So their LNG as a fuel directly is also gaining traction. So government of India is already setting up 100 LNG stations. So there are multiple options. Well, there are going to be multiple options for the consumers to use CNG or LNG, vehicle. So LNG is primarily initially going to make inroads into the trucking industry, which is a long haul, and so therefore ultimately, but CNG is going to be for the other commercial vehicles, and so that the pipeline grid has not been actually keeping pace with such rapid expansion of natural gas in India. So there is an opportunity for entrepreneurs to build this LNG virtual pipeline, wherein in the absence of a pipeline, you can move the LNG from the import terminal to the consumer point through trucks and with a small unloading facility at the consumer point. So this business has been picking up, and there have been lots of entrants into this space in the recent years, and this is one of the areas for the future growth for entrepreneurship, especially in the natural gas segment. And of course, the piped natural gas with the expansion of the CGD license, every district has to go for this piped natural gas. So that of course translates into several opportunities for the downstream and other associated industry involved in whether it's laying pipeline or whether it's metering, so etc., and so on and so forth. So there are immense opportunities in this sector. Then the next one is called SATAT, Sustainable Alternative Towards Affordable Transportation. So under this scheme, Government of India is aiming to build around 5,000 compressed biogas plants in next 2 to 3 years time, ultimately to achieve a 15 million ton production, which is currently which is practically close to zero as on date. But this is a very, very ambitious program where the entire plan is based on the such compressed biogas plants to be built by the entrepreneurs, so and MSMEs. So this has already being rolled out. So the oil companies continue or keep coming up with tenders to develop such plants on a build own operate basis, so where the investment is not very big. So therefore it is doable by the first time entrepreneurs, small business units. So it is very much doable. There is a priority sector lending supported by RBI. There is a capital subsidy. So this is picking up, and these 5,000 CBG plants, I'm sure, will be achieved with all this policy support. So this is another area where the entrepreneurs can actually step in and then seize the opportunity. The next is carbon capture. So of course, with the industrialization, so there is a lot of carbon dioxide emissions, so which are which continue to happen, and so far this has not been there has not been a thrust in actually capturing this carbon and then taking it to a place where it cannot escape, because the carbon dioxide emissions only affect the climate change predominantly. So now there has been a lot of impetus towards capturing this carbon emission from the industry, primarily from the industry, and then whereas the vehicles, we are moving towards cleaner fuels, so we find ultimately lesser and lesser emissions from the vehicles. But whereas industries which depend largely on the hydrocarbons, they continue to generate a lot of carbon emissions. So carbon capture has been picking up good momentum in the recent years, wherein Government of India is also coming up with a policy to encourage research in this area, and ultimately, I think there are opportunities for commercialization of carbon capture that is happening. One of the industry in Tamil Nadu, especially that I know of, actually already implemented a project in actually capturing the carbon and then making a byproduct out of the captured carbon from their process. So there are good and interesting examples in this area. This is a fairly new area, and it's so the whole platform is open for opportunities, and it's up to the entrepreneurs and to actually capture such emerging opportunities in new areas. And this one is already quite popular. So electric vehicles. So this is one, that I think that you must have also been hearing a lot. You must have also been, discussing about a lot. Is that of course? So the electrification of vehicles or EVs. So this is already picked up, and lots of new companies, new entrepreneurs have come into this sector. So you find lots of names, which are more or less like a household names these days, like Ether or Revolt or Torque. So there is with the increasing thrust on Make in India and battery manufacturing. So I think this sector is going to have more and more entrepreneurs coming to them. So I think it continues to be very attractive from entrepreneurship point of view. And lastly, on what is emerging is that actually there is hydrogen as an alternate fuel for the vehicles, which is still some way to go. But what is happening is that the Government of India has actually in the recent budget has decided to set up a national hydrogen mission, wherein there is a promotion of hydrogen, generation of green hydrogen, promotion of generation of green hydrogen is being done. That is the energy that is produced from the renewable sources such as solar. So you can actually there is a peak power which cannot be consumed in a renewable in a solar system, a solar power generation system. So that peak energy can be captured for generation of hydrogen through electrolysis, mainly through electrolysis process. So this is being promoted. There are proposals which are already under preparation for setting up of such green hydrogen plants adjacent to solar production capacity, and also converting for the fertilizers and fertilizer units, especially they import quite a lot of ammonia into into the country. So there is an opportunity to locally manufacture ammonia using the green hydrogen. So that is also being looked at. And of course, automobile fuel, as I told, it's still a long way to go. So these are under pilot studies. So this is one emerging area where there are a lot of opportunities for entrepreneurs, whether it is a R&D opportunity or industrial. On the industrial side, there are some opportunities for development of green hydrogen. So I'm sure this is going to be very interesting in the coming years. I think this will certainly gain some traction. And so what does the investor community also prefer? So they, of course, prefer more and more green. If you find, you can see for yourself that the investments in the oil and the polluting coal has been coming down in the recent years. And what is attracting more investment is actually the renewables, the batteries, such kinds. So you see that the entire ecosystem, the government, the business houses, the investors, all are moving towards green. So therefore, there are more and more opportunities. So you find for entrepreneurs, you step into that sector. So you find the policy support, you find companies willing to invest, you find the investors who are willing to back such entrepreneurs. So this is a very, very good cocktail, or for any business actually to start and thrive. So finally, some learnings. Of course, it's not through the entirely from the entrepreneurship journey, but I thought some of the learnings that I had over the last 2 decades, I would just summarize a few of them, which could be of help to the students. So one of course, the first thing for the entrepreneurship is actually to dream. And so what I have seen with my own eyes when I started my career with Reliance was that Reliance, when all the the refinery sizes in India during that time, in the mid 90s or early 90s, was about maximum was a 6 million ton capacity refinery. So Dhirubhai actually wanted to set up 27 million ton refinery. That was a huge jump. From 6 million ton, even the technology or nothing was available to build a 27 million ton refinery. So that it was to be completely re-engineered. So and of course, so there are very few people in the world who have got the opportunity to build a 27 million ton refinery or to be a part of that such project. So I was and so I was actually one of them. So dreaming big is, I think, very, very, very important as a first step. Then of course, once you dream and then the dream takes shape, and what you need is actually the team to take it to the next stage. So because you can't carry the dream yourself for long, so you can't go very, very far with that dream. So what you need is a team, which we need to collaborate with to take this idea, to mature this idea, and then build that idea into a solid, bankable business proposition. So that's where I think the team is very, very, very critical, and nobody less than Steve Jobs has underlined that importance of having a great team. And finally, in the entrepreneurship journey, yes, one I think needs to persist. So there are lots of course, challenges that entrepreneurs face. I'm no different. So even in the the short journey of my entrepreneurship, there have been many challenges, struggles, so which we continue to face, and then come back and then march forward. I think one has to persist to realize the dreams. I think I would like to end my presentation with this note, and I'm happy to take questions from you. Thank you so much for your patience.
You're on mute, sir. Sir, you're on mute.
Sir, you're on.
Nice, Satya. Nice to hear. There are so many opportunities, especially in this sector. Okay, normally we never explore such opportunities in this sector. I can call it as an unexplored area, I can call it. Okay, Satya, couple of questions from my side, and then I leave the forum to the students. Okay, number one, you were talking about the demand since 2000 in India, as far as all the options are concerned. Of course, you also noted the demand for traditional biomass has been on the decline. Though government has been talking in favor of non-renewable energy resources, why does it happen, Satya?
Actually, those traditional biomass are the all those gobar gas, and you are you call burning the wood So those kind of those are traditional biofuels, which are actually more polluting. So that with the penetration and promotion of the clean cooking gas, so that has been coming down. So that's actually a welcome trend only. But whereas, as you rightly said, what is being promoted is actually a structured utilization of the biomass and converting that biomass into usable natural gas. So that is being promoted.
Okay. Right. My second question with the reference to the electric vehicle, of course, now it has become a fashion statement for all the auto majors. All of them are getting into electric vehicles. Even the government seems to be promoting electric vehicles. Very recently, when Mr. Nitin Gadkari was questioned about the fuel price hike, he bluntly said, why don't you look at other options available in the country rather than petrol and diesel kind of it. So that is the way the government has been promoting electric vehicle. But again, in turn, this may increase the demand for the coal because they need to produce electricity. Am I right, Satya?
Yes. But all said and done, electric vehicles will not make deep inroads, or not expected to make deep inroads in the transportation sector. So if at all it makes it gets a substantial market share, it will be in the light commercial vehicles, like two-wheelers for a short commute, or at the most very light commercial four-wheelers. So that's a segment that it is likely to make impact on. So having said this, the electricity, India as a country is surplus on electricity. So we produce more power than actually that we require. So therefore we are quite comfortable, and of course as you rightly pointed out, we will continue to burn coal, which is a polluting fuel, but it's also self-sustenance, because we have lots of coal. And I think India wants to continue to generate electricity predominantly by burning coal rather than using any other fuel. So which is on one side you promote electric vehicles, and on one side, the other side continue to burn coal to produce electricity. But I think it's, in terms of the share, it's not going to be very substantial. So the environment impact of producing such electricity through coal is going to be partly offset by all this, other bringing the energy fuels, other fuels into the energy mix. For instance, the contribution of solar in the power generation, that is going to increase substantially. While we continue to burn coal silently, what we have seen in the last 6 years, we have seen that from nowhere we have started producing 6 gigawatts of power from solar. So which is 30 gigawatts that we have produced recently. So that share of renewable is increasing in the power generation also. So which is going to largely offset that impact.
Okay. Satya, you were talking about so many entrepreneurial opportunities in this sector.
Yes.
Is it very capital intensive? Is this the reason why the entrepreneurs are shying away from getting into these fields?
I also, Professor, I also used to carry this view that the investment is a barrier. Capital investment to be a barrier for entrepreneurship. But what we have seen in the recent past, or in the last 1 decade, is that we have seen businesses or unicorns being built without capital. Okay. So most of the unicorns that we have from India, they started with a very, very with almost zero capital. Though they are they are in a different sector. They are in a consumer facing businesses, or whether it's a retail or any such thing. But most of the startups that we have seen in the last 1 decade started with almost zero capital. Having said this, so infrastructure, so the oil and gas or energy in business requires a lot of capital, but there is no depth for capital in this world.
That's right.
Absolutely no depth.
Yeah.
There are trillions and trillions of dollars of pension funds, Canadian pension funds, Australian pension funds. They are willing to invest in such energy related infrastructure business. So capital is certainly not an issue. What is I think critical is actually putting this ideas together and then building that critical mass wherein you create an investable proposal for the investors. Yes, that's important.
That's nice.
I think the message to the students or the budding entrepreneurs in the students is that capital, don't worry about the capital will flow in. So you just need to nurture the ideas and then build on it so that it becomes investable proposition.
Yeah. Thank you, Satya. I have one more question, but let me reserve it for the end. I will come back to you. Yeah. Students, please, it's your turn now.
Participants, you all have access. You can unmute and ask.
Sir, good morning, sir.
Good morning. Yeah.
Sir, good morning, sir. I'm Lokesh from second MBA. It was very good session, sir. It was an eye-opener for many of us. I am having a couple of questions, sir. One is regarding to lithium. The most of the countries are start to piling up their stocks on lithium reserves, whereas the India also setting up some separate entity for piling up the reserve on lithium. So my question is, what kind of impact can lithium have on this energy sector?
Yeah, so there is, as far as I understand, I'm not an expert in the electric vehicles or the battery sector. So my primary focus has been on the oil and gas and other chemical side. So what little I know of is that there is certainly an import dependence because for the battery making. But what we increasingly hear is that so there is enough lithium available to make the batteries that are required. So elsewhere, so I think it's a question of demand and supply, and then right price. So you get access to that. So there is always even in, take the case of oil. Oil is not available everywhere, but we have been for decades and decades we have been burning oil, and consumption has been growing. So there is so it's basically a trade. So maybe some nations have that edge over the others in terms of availability of certain minerals required for battery manufacture. So they will continue to have upper hand so far as the trade of that particular mineral is concerned. But I think the global trade will settle. So it's they always settle, demand and supply settle for a price. So the question is whether it is available or not. I think it's available. So it may not be available in all the countries, but ultimately the global trade will settle. That we have seen in all other commodities. Does it answer the question, Lokesh?
Yes, sir. Sir, in a recent budget, the finance minister Nirmala Sitharaman has came out like that. The people around the country will given with the choice of choosing more than one power distribution company. And it will create competition, and it also will impact in price of electricity. What is your thought on this?
I have actually no competence on the power distribution side, but I think going by the that similar situation, for instance, you have in other consumer products, so you have multiple options, right? So why not extend that logic to power distribution also? So why not have multiple options for your power supplier? So that's only going to benefit the consumers. So I don't know the intricacies of the implementation of such move, but what we have seen in the oil and gas industry is that competition is always welcome. If I recall a situation of say 30 years back, when one used to wait for LPG connection at home. So you were dependent on, maybe you have to register, one had to register themselves and then wait for that LPG connection for maybe 3, 4 or 5 years to get that connection. But now you have multiple options. You just go across the table, you get the LPG connection. So I think it's good for, as a consumer, I think it's always good to have options. Then you have a level playing field. Then there is a service comes into the there is a scope for improvement in the customer service.
Yeah.
So I think it's just good in that sense. But I don't know about the practical difficulties in doing that.
Yeah. Satya, if I'm right, correct me if I'm wrong. Mumbai has got this facility, if I'm right. Mumbai
There is Tata, there is Reliance. Yes.
Yes.
But they are present in certain areas where they don't actually compete with each other. Fighting for the same consumer.
Okay.
We are present in different areas, therefore the infrastructure is not duplicated. So that way it is there. Yes, correct. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Thank you, sir.
Good morning, sir. Good morning, sir. Am I audible?
Yeah, you can be better audible actually.
Okay, sir. I'm Dr. Nandi from BJ Academy. Am I audible now?
Yes, please go ahead.
Yeah, I have a question. Like you're talking about the clean energy, like the cooking example. It's a clean energy, no doubt. But my question is whether the process of making clean energy is really clean, because we hear a lot about the things that they have to do to hydrocarbon.
Sorry, sir. Actually, it's not clear. Somebody can help me actually.
Nambi sir, your audio is not very clear.
Okay, sir. I'll do one thing. I'll have some other questions. I will be sharing the connection.
Or you can put it in the chat box if you don't mind. If you have some issues with your audio, you can put it in the chat box. Okay, I think Karthik was trying to come. Karthik?
So my question is about that artificial sun, sir. That Chinese has got that technology, and something India is also invested in the France. They are going to, within this decade, they will generate energy from the fusion energy. What's your view on that?
You are talking about nuclear?
Sir, fusion, hydrogen, fusion.
Hydrogen. Okay. No, hydrogen, see what is being talked about is generation of hydrogen through electrolysis of water. So that is that's the green hydrogen that is being talked about. So there are so as of now there are broadly 3 categories of hydrogen that are being talked about. One is the gray hydrogen, which you do by reforming natural gas. Okay, so you reform the natural gas and then you generate hydrogen. That's a gray hydrogen. Then there is a blue hydrogen. So it's again reforming of natural gas only, but you capture the carbon in the process. So then becomes a blue hydrogen. And third is the green hydrogen, which we spoke about, which is predominantly through the electrolysis of water.
Am I audible now, sir?
Yes, please. Yeah.
Better,
yeah.
Sir.
My question is very simple one, sir. Like, yeah.
Sir, excuse me, sir.
Yes, sir.
Sir, I didn't speak about that hydrogen. I'm speaking about the fusion reaction. Fusion reactor.
Sorry, I'm not competent to answer that question actually on fusion.
Okay.
Can I ask, sir?
Yeah, please.
Yeah. My question is very simple, sir. You are talking about the clean fuel, like cooking gas, Obviously, it is a clean fuel. But my question is whether the process of making clean fuel is really a clean process.
Yeah. Yes. So, as you may be already aware, the clean cooking fuel, which we talk about, LPG, is produced from two sources predominantly, and globally, the one of the major sources is actually from the extraction of natural gas. So it's a simple extraction because you have multiple carbon compounds in that, and you extract in the extraction process you extract only the butane and propane from that, and that's essentially goes into the LPG, and then that gets bottled and goes to the households. So this is one, and second one is you're right. So the second one is through the refining, petroleum refining, where you generate LPG by refining crude oil, which is of course it's a distillation process, and there is a lot of carbon emission in that process. Agree with you, but nevertheless, LPG as a cooking fuel has got less sulfur, less NOx emissions when you burn it compared to the other liquid fuels. Like, for instance, it was substituting kerosene, which was having more sulfur and more, it was emitting more emissions when it was burned. So therefore, compared to the fuel that it cooking gas replaced, I think certainly it is no doubt it is a far better fuel in terms of the energy efficiency and in terms of emissions.
Great, sir. There is no question about it. I was talking only about the process. One more question, sir. Like,
Yes.
as all you're all aware that India is selling cheap petrol and diesel to foreign countries, whereas domestic customers are paying dear. Why is such a disparity?
So the whatever needs to be sold in the export market, it is export parity price. So it's an internationally competitive price. So one has to be competitive in the international market. So they'll have to. So there are obviously no taxation involved. So it's basically the basic price of the product plus the ocean freight. So that is only involved. Whereas whatever is sold in domestic market, there is a taxation element there. So, and it's known to everybody that the different kinds of petrol and diesel still not under GST.
Yes,
So they are therefore subject to the excess duty at central level and VAT at the state levels. So taxation makes the difference actually. I can't answer why the taxation is high. So that's, I think, out of syllabus for me.
I understand. I understand. Thank you, sir. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Satya, I have a question. You're talking about the gobar gas, right? In fact, when we used to study, in the villages, I have in my own village also, we used to have those gobar gas even at a home level, right? House level.
Yes.
But eventually it died out. So you mean to say even that makes a lot of pollution after the process, after you get the gas, or?
Yeah, it's actually technically the process is same. You allow bacterial action on the animal residue, and you generate gas. So the process is essentially the same. But what is being promoted now is the ideal way to handle that animal residue, along with there are lots of agricultural residue, there is city waste, so a lot of such waste. So the government aims to actually aggregate all this waste and therefore put it in a proper process, certified process, whereby there is a much more efficient way of generating biogas. So that was the more of a traditional way of generating gas. You can't achieve scale with that actually. So we need to make a difference. One has to build the scale. I think the government intends to build that actually brings in that scale. With the scale, you get all those benefits like the economies, etc. Whereas for a traditional setup, in a rural setup, yes, one can continue to still explore that opportunity. I think it will continue to happen in some way or other. But what is being promoted now is actually the lot of waste which otherwise goes into polluting the environment. Those waste can be aggregated for generation of biogas. Right. So this is, I think, totally in a different direction, but in a more complementing way.
Okay.
For generating energy from bio waste.
Yeah.
Sir.
Yes, please.
Another one question, sir. So, what's your view on decentralizing the energy production, sir? Like, if hydrogen is a highly, it's not a safety to store hydrogen in large amounts in a particular place. So that it can be, instead of storing it, we can be using a manner of production based on the consumption. We can decentralize many production units in localized areas. What's your view on it?
Yes. So today, if you look at the hydrogen use in India, so it's predominantly in the fertilizer sector, where it is used in the urea production, and what you have in the refineries, where hydrogen is used for reforming. So here the hydrogen is produced in a large scale, which is a captive generation. So it happens from either from the oil or from the natural gas, and it is more of a captive. But so I think your question is in the context of utilization of hydrogen as a automobile fuel or any other smaller industrial application. Yes, there are technologies available for generation of hydrogen through small kits, which are in the size of 20 feet or 40 feet container at the maximum. And these are portable kind of units, kit mounted, where you plug in natural gas, and then you take out hydrogen, or there is an electrolyzer in the 20 feet 40 feet container, and you put in water and electricity, you generate hydrogen. So those kind of skid mounted units are also coming up now. Does it answer your question?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Satya.
Yes, please.
My name is Hitler. I am from Bangalore. I am an working professional, and I'm not a student. And I hope myself I can ask a question.
Absolutely, please. Yeah, most welcome.
Thanks, Satya, for your presentation, sharing your energy transition in India and opportunities for the entrepreneurs mainly. So you have given a very good presentation and very good knowledgeable on the topic here today. To the students as well as to the participants, or need for the hour. Actually, today, everywhere we are hearing and talking about the fuel prices are increasing, and on daily on WhatsApp messages and newspaper, magazines, everywhere the topic is discussed here. So you have covered a very beautiful topic, and thanks for your topic. And my question is here, you mentioned there are a lot of opportunities for the entrepreneurs. Could you give a tip for the young entrepreneurs? What will be the minimum investment that if anyone is interested on any areas? And also, what is your recommendation to start up there will be some classification of areas where the young entrepreneurs or the new startup business can be started. So what is your recommendation and what is your...
Yeah. So I am a young entrepreneur myself. So, but of course, I have started my venture in oil and gas and chemical storage. So that apart, so see, for the I think two areas that are very 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 interesting for the entrepreneurs, budding entrepreneurs, is I think I would strongly recommend solar, where there is opportunity to build such rooftop solar plants on a EPC basis. So where what you need is actually basically working capital to start that business, so nothing else. So you build the rooftop solar plants for the industries, for the large residential units. So that is something that with less investment one can look at starting. And compressed biogas is one opportunity, but of course that entails some investment, but what is available is that there is an institutional funding that is available. So I think what we should actually increasingly assure the students or upcoming entrepreneurs is that there is institutional funding available for a business opportunity or businesses with a proper plan, and once you have a good clarity on what you're going to do in terms of whom you're going to sell the services or products to, and how you plan to go about it, as long as there is a clarity in business plan, there is capital available, there is institutional funding available, there is a bank lending available. So one needs to actually go and actually access these facilities which are available. There is a capital subsidy that we spoke about. So to Mr. Hitler, to answer your question, I think I would strongly recommend to look at the solar power generation, rooftop solar generation, not generation, basically setting up of such rooftop solar plants as entrepreneurs, and also the compressed biogas plants, or you can look at some research based opportunities in carbon capture, even in hydrogen. So opportunities are emerging. I may not be aware of the complete spectrum of opportunities, but each segment has its own set of opportunities, and each segment has its own value chain. There may be immense opportunities in each of these value chains, but these are the top of the mind.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Satya. This is really very good. And so to start up for the young entrepreneurs or the new persons, the solar is the best option, correct?
Solar, yeah, solar is something that can be.
So further, they can expand after getting some knowledge from the solar establishment. Then they can expand their business verticals also.
Absolutely, yes.
So thank you for your answer.
Welcome,
sir. Lokeshwaran again, sir. I have one question, sir.
Yes, Lokesh.
Sir, what is your view on the company company delivering the petrol and diesel to the homes?
Yeah. So this is very, very interesting opportunity. So, and this is already picking up. There are several companies which are already delivering this petrol and diesel. So it's end of the day, it is a value proposition, Lokesh. So there is a value that these companies are generating by doing this, right? So therefore they can. I think the number of companies which are coming into this is only going up. There is a institutional backing available for such opportunities, and there is a scale that these companies are able to demonstrate, because India is a huge country, and you have immense opportunities in terms of delivery of services or delivery of products. So that's picking up. I think I'm seeing lots of companies coming into this.
Thank you, sir.
Sir, there is a question in the chat box. It is from Siddharth, our alumni. So he's having a couple of questions. One is he's asking how fast should this energy transition take place, and while this transition is happening, should we go towards from the fossil fuel towards the more sustainable model in terms of renewable energy, and how fast is this transition possible? If yes, who should bear the most cost?
Yeah, I'm just reading that question so quickly. I think it has gone into the dismissed box. I don't know why. So anyway,
it's there in the chat, sir.
Yeah, no, I'm just reading that question now. So yes, Siddharth. So the energy transition is a function of policy pushed by the governments, then changing pattern, consumption pattern by the societies, and also the availability of the cleaner fuels. So I think this is a function of these three. Plus, of course, plus also in addition to very importantly the technology, which is making things possible which were not few years back. So the rapid change in technology is also bringing about all these changes. Is a fast transition possible at all? Yes, the transition is happening very fast now. So we have in fact there is a disruption that is I would say that is happening. So it's more than a transition. So there is a disruption that is happening. If yes, at what price and who should bear the cost most? I think the winner here is the consumer, because you have, as a consumer, we have more options, whether it is automobile fuel or other whether it's a cooking fuel or a heating fuel. So we have multiple options now. We used to have LPG. Soon our homes will have natural gas. So there are more options that are being made available to us. And I think all this, there is one common thread for this transition is that in most of the cases, it is the newer fuels which are replacing the earlier ones are more economical, so they are competitive. So in most of the cases, we stand to enjoy the fruits of such transition. Maybe in case of battery powered vehicles, electric vehicles, one needs to pay more, but that scenario is also changing. But by and large, in most of the situations, the energy transition will result in more options for the consumers and at a more economical price. So that's I think that's the general that should be the general rule, but there may be some exceptions, such as battery powered car today. Does it answer your question, Sidhu? Or
yeah, so
I think he's
Siddharth.
Siddharth, right? Yeah.
You just posted in the chat and
yes.
Requested me to just ask to you.
Yeah. Sorry,
Hari Prasad.
Yes, sir. Good afternoon, sir. Thanks for this eye-opening session, sir. Sir, I have one question, sir. What kind of threat can be faced by the environmentalists to oil and coal industries?
Sorry, what kind of threat the environment will face from the oil and coal?
Yes, sir.
See, the environment is already been facing, for many decades, maybe for centuries, also facing threat from the oil and coal industry. But that's
sir, not environment, sir. Environmentalist.
Environmentalists.
Yes.
No, I mean, I don't understand the question. So what is the threat they will face?
Sir, like NGOs, like that, sir.
No, I think, see, NGOs are the ones, whether it's NGOs or something like a national green tribunal. So they have been trying to, their endeavors have been always been to protect, you grow, but not at the cost of environment. So that has been the motto for them, and they have to fight to ensure that the environment is not damaged in the process of growth, whether it is industrial growth or otherwise. I think that is the fundamental objective with which such organizations function. I'm not qualified enough to talk about the NGOs, but I see it as a balancing forces when in the context of rapid industrialization. So there maybe there are certain situations where the environment was ignored. So there are, I mean, agencies there is a proper ministry that is functioning for the environment. So they are, NGOs are part of that ecosystem. That's how I think one should see. So there is no threat as such. So these are all balancing forces. So one has to actually grow sustainably. I think so. These are the agencies are, to ensure that there is a sustainable growth without damaging the environment. I think we have to see that in that context.
Thank you, sir.
Sri Raman, if there is no other question, can we wrap it up?
Yeah, sure, sir.
Somebody is coming in? Yeah, please come.
Sir, myself, Subhash. My question is, what makes an entrepreneur, idea or experience?
Can you be a bit louder? Subhash, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, Subhash. Yeah.
Sir, what makes an entrepreneur, idea or experience?
Idea or experience?
Experience, yes, sir.
Very, very difficult question to answer. So there is, yeah, okay. Yeah. Of course, there is no single answer for this question, I believe. So it is one needs to have an idea, and one needs to actually work on that idea to convert that into a business proposition. So it doesn't stop with idea alone. So it then remains an idea. So it becomes a business only with the development of that idea. Right?
Okay.
Would you agree, Subhash? Subhash?
Yes, sir.
Don't you
sir,
agree?
I am audible. Yes, sir, I agree, sir.
Yes. So if you stop with the idea, then it remains an idea. It doesn't become a business yet.
Yeah.
Yes.
It says idea is just a starting point.
Yes.
Satya, if you take your journey as an example, you have joined oil sector, okay, oil and gas sector, and of course, with lots of experience for about more than 2 decades. Yes. You understand every nuance of it. You understand the nitty-gritties of the business, and then subsequently you would jump into the entrepreneurship. Am I right? You were bitten by the entrepreneurial bug, I can call it. Yes. Okay, now what is your advice to the students who are aspiring to become entrepreneurs? Should they spend such a considerable time to get to know what is happening in the industry and then look for opportunities in entrepreneurship or on their own ventures? Or, probably for about a couple of years of experience in the industry and then they can jump into entrepreneurship?
So, number one, based on my own experience, in the sense that after starting this entrepreneurship journey more than a year back, the feeling was that I should have started earlier.
Right.
And
okay.
couple of other early entrepreneurs that I have spoken to,
okay,
who had some of my friends who had started their own their entrepreneurship journey 5 years, 10 years after having a corporate experience.
Yeah,
you also felt that they should have started earlier. So I strongly believe that this was a mistake on my side to not have started earlier than this. So I think earlier is always better. Earlier is always yes. Yeah. And the advantage is that you have the freedom to experiment. The early stages, one can afford to make mistakes, of course. Mistakes can happen at any time, but one can afford to make more mistakes at that early stage.
Exactly.
And that rounds you up so very well that you hit that success very soon.
Yeah.
So I think if there is a learning from what I have not done, it is that I think one should always look to start early.
Okay.
This is something that I cannot catch up with because I've already lost time. I've lost 20 years.
Okay.
So I think it's always, I think, earlier the better. It's my personal belief.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Yes.
Shiraman, we can wrap it up.
We can wrap it up.
Yeah.
Sir, it was a wonderful program. A lot of insights. Thank you for that. Now, let me call upon our final year student Rahul R to propose the formal vote of thanks.
Good afternoon, all. I thank Mr. Satyanarayanan Asokan, founder of Ngaz, for enlightening us on environmental impact and contribution of energy on global economic growth. Some of the key takeaways from this connect are: Indian energy demand has tripled over the last 3 decades, and renewable energy is picking up more than non-renewable energy. There is a huge business opportunity in LPG import facility and bottling plants to distributors. And solar power generation price is becoming low due to the improvement of technology. And natural gas share in energy basket will increase from 6 to 15% in the next 10 years. Thank you, sir. I also extend my heartfelt thanks to our Director, Dr. AGV Narayanan, Chief Executive Captain Sendil Kumar, faculty members, students of DJME, and participants from other institutions and the industry peoples for the active participation throughout the session. Thank you all.
Thank you, Satya, for having spared your valuable time. And we wish you very, very all the best, and God bless you. Have a great